What's up, everybody? I am Nick, back here again with Phil and Emil. We're going to discuss just a few things here with Just Like Me, and kind of go from there. First thing I wanted to talk about, and I'll open it up to you guys first, is Shang-Chi. So since you guys have probably last seen us, that is what's happened now. And that is just that just came out a while ago, a few months ago. So I'll have you guys talk, and then I'm going to share my thoughts. So whoever wants to go first.
I guess I've been elected to go first. Shang-Chi, as a big comic book fan in general, I was very much looking forward to this film. I was also hesitant and worried because I wasn't sure what kind of reception it would get. I was very worried that they might not do well with it, in my opinion. But liking the comic books and stuff like that, I was very impressed and pleased with the way they went on that side of things. As an Asian man in film, I was very happy with the way they cast, the way they shot it, the way they filmed it. As a filmmaker, I was very pleased with pretty much everything. I'll let Emil talk more about some of the action sequences and fight choreography because we discussed that a little bit beforehand. But man, overall impressions, very much enjoyed it. One of my top 5, maybe top film in the Marvel Cinematic Universe for me.
Awesome.
It is up there though.
Yeah, I didn't know anything coming into this, like nothing about the character, which is kind of irregular for me because I'm definitely a comic junkie. That's just like a portion of the world I just wasn't familiar with. I wasn't familiar with Simu's like body of work. Like, this is where y'all can judge me. I hadn't seen Kim's Convenience Store yet, still haven't. But I came in with an open mind, and then maybe the expectation is like, okay, cool, like this is gonna be like our Black Panther, and I was so pleasantly surprised because there were just so many signs that like maybe they weren't pushing this hard enough. Like there were so many things that that worried me about the rollout. That's like, okay, what if this is a flop? But no, like the cinematography is solid. The performances are great. They have Tony is a legend. I just watched Wong Kar-wai's In the Mood for Love, so
I'm like Tony Leon.
Yeah, so I'm
Yes.
like appreciating his like filmography now, and like the fight choreography is easily the most solid in the entire MCU. Like just the way that it's treated, whether it's the cinematography, like often you get like the Jason Bourne like fast cuts, and you don't really get to appreciate the movements or like the skill that the actors or stuntmen have in this, and like it's so fantastic in both a technical sense and like scope sense, because right now the MCU is in this space between street level heroes like the Disney Plus series, and then like this giant, like the stakes are entirely way too high, cosmic like event multiverse era, and this broadens horizons. Like it was one of the first in this phase to just kind of expand and find out like the magical, fantastical sense outside of like the main movies.
As far as fight scenes and stuff go, this is exactly what I wanted to see from Iron Fist.
Oh, yeah, yeah, right. Like this is the movie.
It's like this is what like as far as fight choreography and everything. I'm like, why was who let whoever do Iron Fist the way they did? Like this is what I wanted. I wanted that really good martial arts because he's supposedly the greatest in the world. And like every fight scene he was in was like this awful.
It's that Kevin Feige touch, and then it's also money.
Yes.
Well, yeah, that too. But like I said, I hated Iron Fist. There was one cool fight scene in Iron Fist though, where he was fighting the drunken boxer. There was like the head guardian of the hand.
Hell, Daredevil was a better Iron Fist.
Well,
Yes.
yeah.
I think when I think Simu, it's his story, his journey is doing, because he also started in Hollywood as stunts too, doing stunts, being a stuntman.
Oh.
And then transitioned into becoming an actor I think he even worked, and don't quote me on this, I have to go back and look, but I do remember, I think he worked for Wong Fu Productions a long time ago when they started on YouTube as kind of one of the first Asian, kind of people on YouTube and stuff like that. So I think he did a couple of things with them first. And that's kind of how I think he got more discovered and noticed and everything. I loved it. I think that, like, I'm glad that you said that, like, our Black Panther, because it kind of was. I mean, I know everyone's like, you know, and I love that they put Benedict Wong from Doctor Strange. I love that they had his character in there, because I was like, you got to have him somewhere, and I'm glad they kind of mixed it in with him, like, in the fighting arena type of thing, which was kind of cool. But I think, I love this because you don't really have to be a Marvel fan to understand this, because, like I was telling you guys, we were discussing it earlier, my wife saw it and she said it was more like a kung fu movie. She actually enjoyed it, because she's not a huge Marvel person, but she liked that, and she's like, I didn't need to see the other ones to understand this story. You know, it kind of goes with its own thing. I loved, and I think we discussed this too, I loved Aquafina in it. It was at first it was a little weird, and she was funny at first, and then when it started getting serious, it's like, is she actually going to take this serious? And she does. She becomes kind of a hero. So I loved her character in it. You know, Michelle Yeoh, again, she's like everyone's Asian mom. She's been in like everything, and she kills it in this. I think everyone killed it. I loved Ben Kingsley in it. He was hilarious.
Yes.
I started laughing every time he was on. I just like laughed. He was such a good comedic relief. And I think that was a kind of a good shift, because a lot of times you see an Asian person as the white superhero sidekick, kind of, that's a little bit funny. And it was kind of nice to see that kind of reversal with, you have now a white actor, a white person that's like the Asian superhero. It's not really his comic relief, but he added
a
it.
very long list of Asian sidekicks.
Yes, yes, and
that'll have to be another episode.
I love the suit. They didn't like mess up the suit, which I loved too. It was very simple, but it looked awesome. And I love the fact, and I know Simu's done an interview with this, and I didn't realize it until I watched it again. He wears Jordans throughout the whole film.
Yeah, I noticed that. I was
And
like,
he said
my man's dripped out.
he said that he wanted to do that because it gave the character more character. Because every superhero puts on a suit and these boots, but he was like, you know, he's a kid from the Bronx, from Brooklyn, and he's like, that's what he wears. Just wears the Jordans, you know.
No, they are both Bay Area, San Francisco Bay Area, super authentic. I think when they go meet the family in that opening, like, breakfast scene.
Oh yes,
man, yeah, no, they got it.
Yes.
Shout out to the writers.
So I loved that. I loved all of that, and I'm glad that they kept that in there with the Jordans and everything. And you know, you talked about Iron Fist, and I know that there's been a huge push to make Iron Fist Asian, to just redo the whole thing.
I mean, even if you didn't, though, the fight choreography was a huge letdown for.
Yeah, I could
supposedly being the greatest martial artist of all time.
I can honestly, I can get away with like the race, like, change race casting. Like oftentimes I think there's a argument about, like, well, we want to see more diversity, and it's just like, yes, we can do that, but we can also uplift original characters. A lot of these characters are like, their origin stories are tied to a specific ethnicity, and then trying to like race bend those takes away from the argument of having more diverse heroes.
Yes.
So like in the case of Iron Fist, like, you know, I can get it. Like, his whole shtick is being a white dude that knows martial arts. Like, I get it.
Yeah.
Like,
I mean, that's literally the whole thing.
Yeah, that's the whole thing. But like the things that we can ask for that are better, like better choreography, better. Just everything.
Better development of other characters that were.
And I think that was also the casting. Finn, I know he had done all the Game of Thrones stuff, but I don't know how well trained he was and how much time he had to prepare for that. Because there's been a lot of actors who you put into a role, like Keanu, who did John Wick, who trained for years before it even to get into that shape to be able to do that.
Well,
so
I mean, he started doing that stuff on the first Matrix.
Yes.
He just never stopped.
So, you know, and so I think that, but I know, like, the story when Iron Fist came out, I remember there was a room, and Louis Tan, who plays the drunken fighter, was supposed to be Iron Fist because he's half Chinese, half American. And so they had originally proposed that he be adopted Asian, like a monk drops him off at the doorstep of the Rands because their wealthy family can take care of him. And then on his 18th birthday, his dad has a business trip to China and goes, I want to take you back so you can learn your culture. And they go to fly over the mountains. It crashes. He falls in the mountains. The monks train him because he's Asian, he's Chinese. They teach him his culture. He comes back. as the only heir to the Rand family. That was what was pitched for
Yeah.
the original show, which would have worked. I think it could have. It would have believable. The studio decided to keep it, which, like you said, is fine. We can keep the same characters and just elevate it. The problem was, I think it was just they didn't elevate it, and it just kind of was a flop, which is too bad.
And as I kept watching it, I'm like, it's just getting worse.
And it got worse, I think, when they what was it, the Defenders or whatever they called, when they brought them all four together, and it just
I was really excited. I was really excited for the Defender special too.
Same.
It's like everything else in the Netflix, original Netflix Marvel shows was just so strong. Like I think the first season of Jessica Jones is like amazing.
One of the best.
And the first two, Daredevil, I mean Luke Cage, like Mahershala Ali, like is amazing in that. Yeah.
Like the Netflix shows, in my opinion, did a better job with villains.
Yeah.
Than the MCU in general.
Yeah, and then there's like.
Although I haven't seen the new the Thor movie, I hear Gore is supposed to be pretty.
Love and Thunder is gonna come out very soon.
Yep.
Yeah, but
I hear Gore is like everyone's pick for like best villain in the MCU so far. So.
I mean, it's Christian Bale, so you know.
Right.
but like, the thing that I forgot to say. Like I don't want us to like just bash too much because like there's obviously like a bunch of hardworking people on these shows.
Of course.
And it's not. It wasn't bad. It just wasn't the same caliber as what seemed like all the other shows.
And it had nothing to do with race either. It wasn't bad because it was a white guy cast. It was just bad. I think overall it was just executed horribly.
I won't even go so far as to say it was
meet
bad.
expectations. I think.
It just was not what I wanted it to be.
Yeah.
I wanted it to be Shang-Chi.
But
I didn't get that. So
the criticism that I always saw of Iron Fist was like, man, I feel like I'm watching Arrow, but like less thought out. And I'm
Yes.
Like,
that's
I mean,
actually
that's
a
fair.
really good description. I hadn't heard that one, but like, yes, that's very much what it was.
Oh yeah.
Well, and then you know, for me watching that, and then one thing I was gonna mention because I had just seen it the other night was DC now is doing Black Adam. Yeah. And I saw that they casted Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson, who's not Asian. He is a Samoan, but you know, Samoa and Asia are not. They're not. I shouldn't say similar, but we're close. And you know, he has that look. I love Black Adam. I love the comic of Black Adam. I'm hoping, but more diversity. I think more diverse. Any superheroes, regardless of race, I think it helps all diversity. And so I'm looking forward to seeing it. I mean, The Rock already is a superhero. The dude could already believe the guy could uppercut a boulder and break it in half. I mean, it's not really that unbelievable. So I love that casting. I'm wondering if they're going to add it into like, you know, the Batman, the Superman, and all that stuff. Because
I'm sure
him standing next to them, I'm like, he's gonna dwarf all of them, man.
I'm sure the studio's wondering the same thing.
Yeah.
I mean, him next to Jason Momoa, though.
Yeah.
They're a good size comparison.
You know, it's the weird thing is, and I don't know if someone was telling me about that Momoa and The Rock have never been in like on an award show together or never have appeared in anything together, and it's only because their families in Samoa are like rival families.
I don't feel like that's. I feel like that is an exaggeration.
Yeah, but
like,
someone was saying that, and I was like, oh, okay, because I guess Momoa's family, his father was the chief tribe of one side of the Samoa Islands, and of course The Rock's Peter Maivia was the high chief of, so kind of like the president of all. He was there, and they kind of had a rivalry, and of course rivalries don't have to last for a long time, but I think it's like the old Samoans and their family are like, oh, you don't, you know, it's like the Romeo and Juliet, like you don't go near them and you don't go near them. But I'm sure The Rock, he's a professional, he would shake hands, and but I just never noticed that because I'm like, I swear they've been in the same room together, but they apparently haven't. So
I mean, Roman Reigns was in that last Fast and Furious movie, and
yeah,
that was with The
he's
Rock.
cousins with The Rock.
Yeah. So I don't know, listeners. Help us figure it out.
Yes, please, because that would be awesome. But someone told me that, and I thought that was very fascinating because I was like, oh, but I've always loved that because it's like culture, like Asian culture have the same thing. I meet people all the time who are Korean who still blame the Japanese for World War II. I'm like, hey man, it's like we're over, we're done. We need to like not do any of that stuff. So,
I'm not going
but the last thing I wanted to talk about with you guys too, because it has aired since we last talked, was also. And we may have touched briefly on it, but The Farewell with Awkwafina. That was another one.
That was so good.
And that was
if you
one
haven't
I
seen
loved.
it, go watch it. It is
Yes.
incredible.
I haven't seen it yet.
That was one I loved.
Sorry.
Being
Busy.
Asian American, and maybe for Emil it means a little more than Phil and I, because Phil and I are adopted, so we we had the American family. But for you, having an Asian family about like grandma and grandpa or someone always preaching to you the importance of like your culture, which I don't know if that was your case, but I can see more Asian Americans. I know a lot of them said it related to them because it was their family and how their dynamic was and everything. So
Did you guys see Minari at all?
Minari, yes, I did. I
I
love.
wanted to
Minari.
watch that one. I had no time,
I
but,
need to
like,
watch it. I just watched one of his earlier films, Lucky Life.
Oh,
Yeah. And so I don't know. We'll see.
and Squid Game, that was another one too. I don't know if you
Still
guys
haven't
saw
watched
Squid
Squid
Game.
Game.
I watched the first 3 episodes and I got distracted. Yeah. I'm doing bad here.
I don't have a
watched
lot of time. I'm also a big Star Wars nerd, so
No.
when I have time to watch something, it's me catching up on those shows.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, I saw Squid Game. Being Korean as well, I loved that. I watched it. I saw there's a sequel coming out now, season 2. So we'll see how well it does. I think that I'm really glad to see, especially Netflix, embrace these foreign Asian films now, like Korean, all driven.
I mean, Netflix has been great about doing that from
They
the
have.
beginning, though.
They
Like,
have.
They pick up a ton of great
Yes.
foreign films and stuff.
I'm so happy to see that.
I'm just happy to see they're gaining traction.
I don't know if that's true though.
I mean, Squid Games was the most streamed show
Yeah.
ever at the time.
True, but they've definitely made some recent decisions that
Yeah.
are
Yeah.
killing a lot of that traction.
That's true.
And they lost all that membership, a few months ago, but Stranger Things 4 released, and I think that kind of brought some people back. I don't think it brought everyone, but some people came back to watch that. But that was kind of one of the things. And you mentioned Star Wars. Have you what for you guys as Asian Americans? That's something we can discuss. They talk about the lack of like Asians in the Star Wars universe. So
Is it Kelly Tran? That is her name.
Yeah. And her character was,
That was,
unfortunately, her character was, I feel wasn't that good. I didn't like her character in that one. She was, I don't know.
I have strong feelings about the newest trilogy, and not in the like man, I really like the really problematic kind of views you get from people that are always like, I hate the new trilogy, but in more like I feel like there was just a lot of potential and like a lot of plot lines that they could have developed, and they just, whether it was a studio decision or very
Stupid fanboys yelling about things and getting them to change their mind about stuff.
Yeah, the way
Stop being dicks.
you said it, the way that Kelly Tran was treated, like in both personal and professional life after that, like that's disgraceful, honestly. Like
It is.
like when we want to have more representation and then like to have that be the backlash or the reaction, that feels uncomfortable for us, like yeah, cool, like there's an Asian character, and like there's this toxic portion of the fan base is just like, we're going to bully her into getting off social media. Like,
Yeah.
how does that make it?
You guys aren't
People
even real fans at that point.
Yeah.
You're
Yeah.
just being dicks.
Yeah. But for me, I think I've always watched Star Wars I loved Star Wars 2. And it was something I could never relate to. I loved it. I always wanted to be a part of it. But I could never relate to it because there was never a character that looked like me, that I felt, that looked like me. And I've always felt that of all the universes, because this is finally the movie where not even just races, but galaxies of everything come together and get along. I'm like, where are all the Asians at? What happened to that? And I would love to see them make that step now that Disney owns them. I'd love to see that step kind of transition into more kind of Asians. We already have the Jedi.
And I mean, they are with the shows.
Yes, they are.
Yeah.
The shows have done really good with diversity, and I appreciate that. I know they added Ming-Na Wen to Mandalorian, and
Absolute legend.
yes, so I know they added her to Mandalorian and everything, and I truly appreciate that. But for the film sense, I would love to see.
She's been like in the big 3 with Disney. She's Disney princess.
Yep,
She
for
was
one.
in
She was in-
Star Wars and Marvel.
Yeah, she was an Agents of
So
S.H.I.E.L.D.
yeah.
Yeah, she was in Agents of Shield. That's right. She was in Agents of Shield. She's been in a lot of good stuff, and I'm glad that they put her in there, but like I said, for the film world, I would love to see them add a kind of a strong Asian character in there somewhere.
I don't think we're far away from it though. It just needs to be in the hands of a capable director that like is probably character driven. It needs to be a writer's room.
Well, there was a lot of talk of the blind character in Rogue One. Why am I forgetting his name now?
Donnie Yen?
The
Yeah,
character.
yeah, yeah.
There's Donnie Yen.
Oh, from Rogue One?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
But there's
Yeah,
been
yeah.
a lot of talk of doing like a prequel series with him.
Oh yeah, Rogue One
would be so cool.
Rogue One was so good. I think it comes down to like in the films and the show, like we're getting there with diversity. Like you're seeing like the Ming-Na Wens, you're seeing, and even like just across the spectrum, like you're seeing Oscar Isaac, Pedro Pascal as the Mandalorian.
Yep.
Rosario Dawson coming as fan favorite Ahsoka. Like
Yes.
like we're getting there. It's just there's this kind of epidemic, and this is just Hollywood in general, where you're getting minority and like POC representation, but in a family friendly kind of way. It's like, are these people like white passing? Are they close? Or are they like yes, this awful, the like good kind of minority? And the only way to like fix that across the board is, we talked about this earlier, diversity in both executive positions and in the writers room. Because like if your cast is like all POC and then like your executive producers, your directors, everyone above the line, and all your writers are still white, then like, are you really achieving true diversity, or is it just kind of like we're propping people up in place to kind of fill a quota? And like I don't think that should ever be the end game of any kind of true diversity initiative.
Yes.
So as the minute that we start to bridge that gap of like,
everyone, like even on like a local level, like I do a lot of live theater as well in the Quad Cities. We have really started pushing like the diversity thing in even local community theater. We are a predominantly white area anyway, so it's a little bit tougher. But like Playcrafters Bar and Theater, where I'm a board member at, we've actually made sure that we've hired completely diverse crews and stuff like that to work on shows. Not just a diverse show, but then helmed by a white director. That doesn't do a whole lot of good. I'm directing one this year. The hopes has been to cast a more diverse cast, but I have not been having a lot of luck reaching out to people.
Yeah, and if availability is an issue, like that's fine. Like that happens, right? But it's just got to come. It's got to come from a good faith place.
Yes.
I think this is an example that I like to bring up. Cinematographers, right?
Yes.
If you have people of differing skin colors on screen, a lot of white DPs aren't used to lighting like more brown or like black skin, and so they'll like wash them out or overexpose them or just light them the same way that you would do a white person. But like you see films like Moonlight or photo shoots on Vogue that aren't
like
animated.
Black Panther and stuff. They did a great job with it there.
Yeah, like you have to treat those shadows and highlights differently, and like that just comes from experience with that kind of skin, and often that is black and brown DPs saying like, I know how to light my skin. Like that's one of those like things you wouldn't think about, but are real problems.
And I guess to end it, we can end, because I've had this discussion too, and it'd be a good way to end it, is why do you guys think that there aren't enough Asian executives, Asian DP cinematographers? Because there are some out there, but do you think it's because they haven't got the chance, or that it's the industry, as we said, it's the industry, and we are moving in the right directions, but it's still, or is it because of the old stereotypical of like, well, there's no Asian execs because Asians don't like to invest our money in something we might not get a return on, because we're very stingy with our money to find an Asian executive to go, here's $100 million. If I don't get it back, if the film flops, it's okay.
I think more than them not being willing to give money, it's that, hey, I don't have a ton of money. I have to pick a project that is going to win, because otherwise we don't have any anymore at all. So it's the selection process for that side of things has to be so much tighter, because it's like, I don't get a lot of opportunities. Instead of getting 100 opportunities, I'm going to get maybe 3. Mm-hmm. So how do I pick which 3 I want to do?
Actually, so to answer your question, I think there's so many factors that go from like cultural stuff to just like the industry. But that reminds me of a thing I saw about entrepreneurship, right?
Mm-hmm.
If you are not as well off, maybe it's like a carnival game. You have one shot to get it, and if you hit the bullseye, like, okay, you're set. Maybe someone that saved up a bunch of money, or saved up a little bit of money, or has like an investor behind them, gets like 3 or 4 shots to make their mark. And then people that have a lot of capital, whether that's from like a place of privilege or just like, you know, maybe like nepotism or whatever, like they get as many chances as they can to get to a successful venture. So when you often consider that a lot of like the old guard isn't minorities,
Right.
then they're always going to be like, yes, we only have a few shots to get this right. And maybe that's just like from a risk-taking perspective or whatever. And then there's also like a lot of Asians, it's definitely getting better now. And we have to and can acknowledge that. Like,
Way better.
Culture
Way
and
better.
arts is starting to become more prevalent in a lot of people's lives, and the value and priority that it is, it's climbing, right? But like, again, that old yard of like STEM fields, STEM, like that's what I grew up with, like STEM, and like it only took me till recently for my family to be like, okay, yeah, like you know what you're doing, like they support me wholeheartedly. But like when I was a kid, like if I told them I wanted to be a filmmaker, a writer, a director, man, it just wouldn't have flown.
Yeah.
And like we're in this weird in between period where now we have this generation of like diverse voices that one have put in the time to be great at the craft, but they don't have the opportunities like that carnival game. They just don't have as many opportunities. And I think once we get to that point, like you will see that start to change.
And the African American community, it's become big. Tyler Perry's got a studio and does a lot of films and African American. And everyone's like, well, what about Asians? Asian American males per capita are the richest, in America. They're the richest race and richest people.
And I want some of that.
And that's what I say.
Richest minority.
I was gonna say, I want some of that.
But they actually say though that Asian Americans in the study in 2021 that Asian American males make more than even white males do. Because most of them are go to Harvard, go to UC Berkeley, get your doctorate degree, become a lawyer, become a doctor, become a dentist, and that's what they do. A lot of them have that trajectory, and and that's fine. So the question was that, I've had a lot of Asian Americans ask me is, so if we have all that money, why are we not giving it out for films? And I said, I think that stems from the cultural thing, as I was saying, is a lot of Asians we're very closed off. Like once we get that money, we're like, okay, we got to provide this life for my family and I don't want to give it out. And so as Asian Americans in the industry, as Emil said, is kind of like we have one shot. So we have a white executive who's given us this shot to do this film. And we say, okay, because I said for Simu, I said, if Shang-Chi fails, we won't have an Asian superhero probably in another 20 years.
Then they knocked it out of the park.
It won't be, because the way they see it is like, I'm giving it a shot, but if it doesn't do good, well, then I've just proven my fact that an Asian face can't make the money, can't be marketable.
So I was really, really hoping at the end of Shang-Chi, spoiler if you haven't seen it by now, which shame on you, but at the very end, the post-credit scene where they bring in Mark Ruffalo as Hulk, and then they bring in Brie Larson as Captain Marvel, and they're having and they're having their sort of meeting about everything that's going on. I was really, 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 really hoping we'd see Bruce Banner get interrupted by his assistant Amadeus Cho. Because it would have been so easy.
Yeah.
But you know what that would have signified in my mind? That not were they just thinking about this one, but they had already planned a future for Asian cats.
Yes.
I wouldn't be surprised if that's in the future though, because
I think it's in the future. I mean, with She-Hulk coming out, I believe we'll see Amadeus Cho in there.
Well, they're passing the OG Avengers rules. Like you can see it with Hawkeye, you can see it.
But it's one of those things that like the reason why Amadeus Cho, because Hulk lost the use of his arm. They were trying to find a way, and he ends up taking over the mantle of Hulk, which is just a perfect. Like I saw Moose's arm, I feel like they're setting it up, and when I'm watching Shang-Chi, I see that, I'm like, just like a really quick, not even like on screen, just off screen, have like him being interrupted and him being Amadeus, I'll be right there. Just something, just because then I'd been like, it's coming, they're planning on it.
See, watch Phil be right though, that they have all this planned, and we're just never gonna see from Phil again, because Kevin Feige's He knows too much.
Yes, just takes it up. But,
Phil
you
is
know,
dead.
one
But I've
thing-
been pitching for a long time that they should let me direct that one. It's my favorite comic book
Well,
series. Read 'em
one
all.
thing I didn't know,
Yeah.
and I have to go back and watch it, that in Iron Man 3, they introduced Amadeus' mother.
Yes.
Dr. Cho,
They've also
she's
technically
his
had an
assistant.
appearance of Amadeus Cho
Yes.
in the first Hulk movie.
That's what everyone has
Edward
said.
Norton.
So I'm like, okay, well maybe they are working their way.
But
to
like
it.
that was a very
They're putting the seeds. Like I think there's a Cindy Moon in the new Spider-Man. Like
Oh,
there's-
yeah.
I think there's one. Don't
And-
quote me on that.
You know, another thing you had mentioned that just quickly to end. You had mentioned Amadeus coming in because I was thinking the same thing. I'm like,
was just
oh,
waiting for
Bruce, and I was kind of waiting too. I'm like, is he gonna come in? But then also in the comics, Kamala Khan has taken over as Captain Marvel, and
I
she's
think
an
that's
Indian,
what they're going for.
and she's an Indian American,
I wanna say
LGBTQ.
Pakistani.
Is it Pakistani?
I think she's
I don't
Pakistani?
know. I don't know that she is LGBTQ.
For the thing?
I don't know.
Okay.
Yeah.
Because I knew in the comic I
actually
thought she
watched it.
was. I thought in the
It's
comic.
that
so-
first episode. Sorry, sidetrack. That first episode has the best cinematography of the D+ series.
nice.
You have to go
I
watch
was
it.
so
You
excited
have to go
for it
watch it.
because I'm like, I really wanted. I just
It's-
time.
It was
so busy.
It's a younger creative team, and they let them get loose with it. It's
Oh.
so
Nice.
It is
Cool.
so good.
I'll have to check it out.
Yeah.
Well, I mean,
but-
it, like
sorry.
it harkens
No,
back
you're
to
good.
a story that I've been working on for years that
Yep.
I really wanted to make. So I'm really looking forward to seeing out the reception, how it does.
Oh, you'll love it.
So,
So I'm glad to finally do this in person, and hopefully we can bring you guys more content in person and more things. I have some things for us as a group. Been invited to some Asian festivals to go out and interact with people and different
Yeah.
things. Every May, for people that live in Iowa, every May, so it was about 3 weeks ago, there's Celebration in Des Moines. We celebrate Asian Heritage Month, and they have a
Awesome.
huge
Yeah.
festival in Des Moines every year. With different villages and different things like that. So check that out in May. You can go to the website, just look up Iowa Asian Alliance. You can find it. We'll put the website on the link. But we also have an Iowa Asian Alliance. We have a branch in Cedar Rapids. I worked
Okay.
with them. I've done some things with them. And they are hosting one coming up in August, an Asian festival in Cedar Rapids, where they're gonna have food. They have Asian singers. They have a bunch of things that go on there, so you can check that out. I'll get the dates and we'll post it. But yeah, check that out. And then, we've been invited to do some stuff there if we want to come up with some stuff and do some stuff there and everything. So definitely we'll be hopefully getting more out into the public and meeting. And you can check out all of our work. I'll post links to everyone's, to Emil's. Emil's doing some amazing, great things. Phil's doing some amazing, great things. So
mostly construction on mine. Though,
so I'll post links, or we'll post links and everything to get to their stuff, because they're doing awesome stuff and everything, and we appreciate everyone and we thank everyone. So
And if you know somebody in Marvel Studios that is looking for a director for Totally Awesome Hulk, just saying, I can get you my info.